Eye in the Sky is directed by Gavin Hood, written by Guy Hibbert, and stars Helen Mirren, Aaron Paul, Alan Rickman, and Barkad Abdi. And Eye in the Sky is about a bunch of different people in rooms all over the world as they try to coordinate a drone strike on a house in Kenya. And what follows are a ton of political, legal, and ethical questions about drone warfare. Now, I was cautiously optimistic about this movie because the only things that I had seen from the director Gavin Hood before were X-Men Origins Wolverine and Ender's Game. And part of me really thought like maybe those were like studio-made films and really wasn't his real stamp on them. And after watching Eye in the Sky, I can confirm that as true because I really enjoyed this movie. I have a couple of minor issues, but for the most part, like, this movie really soars thanks to an incredible cast and honestly, like, the best editing I've seen so far this year. First, we gotta talk about that editing, because if you want to see what good editing looks like, watch Eye in the Sky. The editing here is so good because it makes all these characters feel like they're speaking to each other, like right next to each other. You know, you completely forget that they're in completely different rooms all over the world. You completely forget that these actors probably never saw each other during production. And yet, when these debates are happening, the conversations are so fluid, and whenever it jumps from one place to another, it never breaks the tension. Like, it always feels like, you know, everything's on and everyone's contributing to this mission. And that's one thing I really like. Everyone is made to seem really crucial to this mission. It would have been so easy to make this movie the Helen Mirren show or the Alan Rickman show, but instead everyone gets equal focus. And this movie is tense, man. It's extremely suspenseful and tension-filled. I could be mistaken, but it almost feels like this movie is done in real time, and that really helps because it's such a time-sensitive mission and they have to make decisions really quickly so that when something comes up to delay that, you're on the edge of your seat because you're made to understand what's at stake. You feel every second of time winding down as they make these decisions, and you'll understand this once you see the movie, but you will never feel more tense watching someone buy bread than in this movie, I swear. And let's talk about this cast here. What I love about this cast is that no one ever overstates their roles. You know, no one ever tries to take the spotlight. Everyone plays their roles in a really subdued manner. And this really works because these actors aren't taking out their frustrations on each other necessarily. It's all internalized. Helen Mirren is great in this movie. She's like the really fiercely determined one, and she is super intimidating. As for Aaron Paul, this is probably the best thing he's ever been in since Breaking Bad. They really make good use of his eyes because so much of his acting happens in his eyes. And this is such a great, like, one of the great last roles of Alan Rickman because they really put to good use his deep voice and his slow delivery. He really conveys this sense of history with his character, especially like with his final line in the movie. Like, it makes an impact, and it's really just such a great performance. And I think it's just nice to see Barkad Abdi getting more work because he was great in Captain Phillips, and he really holds his own as an actor. Now, Eye in the Sky is really the kind of movie you watch for the storytelling and for the editing, not so much for the technical presentation, because the sets really are quite limited, although the movie still does look good. And what I really like is that they don't overdo the CGI with the drones and like the little robot cameras that Barkad Abdi uses. The musical score here by Paul Hepker and Mark Killian is great as well, but as with most great thrillers, it's the moments of silence that really make an impact. Because all throughout this movie, like many times while you're watching this strike happen, you're watching it from a safe distance. You're like these characters, you know, you're just observing it. So it's all very eerily quiet. Unlike my room right now because it just started raining. But really, it's like that level in Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare, if you've ever played that, where you're in like this big plane thing and you're just bombing people. It's all black and white and you can't hear anything. It's like that, but it's even eerier. Eye in the Sky has a really simple plot that gets more and more complex the deeper these characters get into the ethical dilemmas and the legal questions and the political questions. And what's so great is that they make solid arguments for both sides. Oh my god, please bear with me. It's getting super loud. Sorry. It's August in the Philippines. What can you do? But yeah, this movie really makes you as a viewer question what your stance is on this entire thing. God damn it. I'm gonna power through this review before the storm gets even stronger. The characters in this movie are defined by their jobs, but I'm actually okay with that given the nature of this movie is very kind of limited and confined. Because even if these characters aren't necessarily like really deep emotionally speaking, like on the surface at least, The dialogue really fleshes them out, and it gives each of these characters specific challenges for them to overcome, be it external challenges or internal challenges. And I take back all my doubt on Gavin Hood before watching this movie, because my confidence has been restored in him. He is a great director. He makes every single little detail matter in this movie until the very end, and the way he orchestrates the scenes, like, just, they flow so naturally, they never drag. And there is stuff happening on the ground as well in Kenya with Barkad Abdi's character, and that stuff is orchestrated very well. And what's so impressive to me is that when you see these overhead shots of Kenya, it just blows my mind thinking how long it must have taken to block these scenes, because everything has to be moving in a precise manner, and like, it just comes off like you're watching the real thing. My only issues with the movie are very minor. First of all, Ian Glenn's character in this movie has food poisoning for some reason. He's like the foreign secretary, and I just feel like this little detail for his character doesn't really fit in the movie. Like, they play it for laughs, but it kind of feels out of place. But my bigger issue with the movie is the fact that there are no subtitles with the Kenya stuff. And it's not just in my screening. Like, I looked online, and apparently this movie really just doesn't have subtitles for the Kenya scenes, and you don't need to have subtitles to really get the story, but I just feel like I missed a lot of nuance without knowing what they were saying. But in the end, I think Eye in the Sky is a really good movie, man. It's definitely a heavy watch, but it's made for like really intellectual conversations afterwards. So if you have friends who are into that kind of thing, definitely check it out. Alright, so those are my thoughts on Eye in the Sky. Have you guys seen it? What do you think about it? Whether you agree with me or not, please leave me a comment. Let's have a conversation.